Welcome along to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're jumping straight into something pretty special on the rugby calendar, aren't we?
We absolutely are. That upcoming clash between the Springboks, the two-time defending world champs, and the world-famous Barbarians.
Exactly. And our mission, sort of guided by the info we've got here, is to really unpack this one. You know, the history, who exactly the Barbarians are, and why this match feels, well, significant.
And it really is significant.
Yeah.
The key day everyone needs is June 28th. It's happening down at Cape Town Stadium.
Cape Town Stadium, great.
And what really makes this stand out, according to the sources, is that this is apparently the very first time the Barbarians will play what's being called a test match on South African soil.
Wow, okay. That's genuinely historic then.
It absolutely is. A first for both sides in that sense.
A massive moment. And look, if you're as into rugby analysis and history as we are, and you want to join us for these deep dives regularly, do make sure you hit subscribe on Rugby Obsession.
Yeah, definitely stick with us for these kinds of discussions.
You won't want to miss out. Okay, so the Barbarians. Let's start there because, I mean, they're not like a normal national team, are they?
Not at all. Fundamentally different. The sources are clear. They're famous invitational side. So no fixed squad, no club structure like you'd expect.
Right, so they basically build a team just for the game. How does that work? Where do they find the players?
Well, they invite them. And they invite them from, top leagues all over the world. The sources mention recent squads drawing talent from the URC, the French Top 14, the English Premiership,
Okay.
Super Rugby down south, and even the Japanese League these days.
So a real mix of talent from everywhere.
A proper international flavor, yeah. You get guys playing together who are usually bashing each other for their clubs or even countries. And for this game, the coach is Robbie Deans.
Ah, the former Wallabies coach, so plenty of test experience there.
Exactly. But that whole invitational thing, pulling guys together maybe just for a week, it's just so different from how the Springboks operate, isn't it?
Totally different. The Boks have their camps, the long-term planning, the established culture.
Right, whereas the Baas, they often come with this incredible flair, maybe less rigid structure, but heaps of individual brilliance.
Yeah.
That classic running rugby spirit.
Which makes them such a unique and sometimes dangerous opponent. It's
Yeah.
fascinating. But how have they actually done against a powerhouse like South Africa over the years? The sources give us the head-to-head, and honestly, digging into this was a bit of an eye-opener for me.
It is, isn't it? So South Africa have played the Barbarians 8 times before this one.
8 times.
And if you just look at the wins and losses, well, it's probably not what most people would guess.
Okay, lay it out for us. What are the numbers?
Right, so across those 8 games, the Springboks have won 3.
3 wins for the Bobs.
But the Barbarians, they've actually won 4 times.
War.
4 wins for the Baas.
Yeah.
And the other match was a draw.
Hold on. 4 wins for the Barbarians, 3 for the Springboks, 1 draw. Against the Springboks. Even an invitational side. That's actually quite something.
It really is. It immediately makes you think, doesn't it? Why? I mean, looking at the list of results in the source material, these games were often played away from South Africa, Cardiff, Twickenham, Dublin, places like that.
Ah, okay. Location matters.
It seems to. For instance, there was a Barbarians win way back in '61 in Cardiff. 6-0, they beat the Boks. And more recently, 2 wins at Twickenham. 2007, that was 22-5.
Wow, 22-5. That's a decent margin against the Boks.
And then 2010, they won again at Twickenham, 26-20. So fairly convincing score lines in recent-ish history, too.
Does the source material give us any hints why they've had this kind of success, tactically or anything?
It doesn't really break down the tactics game by game, no. But you can sort of infer possibilities from how the Baas are described. They can pull in absolute top-tier players, often real attacking threats.
True, individuals can shine.
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, playing without the intense pressure of, say, a World Cup or a Rugby Championship, they play with a bit more freedom. That could catch even a structured team like the Boks off guard sometimes.
And you mentioned the locations. Maybe playing at the end of long Springbok tours up north? Fatigue could be a factor?
That's often been the timing, yes.
Yeah.
End-of-year tours.
Yeah.
So you combine that potential fatigue, the Baas's flair, maybe some experimentation from the Boks. Yeah. It all adds up to them being a genuinely tricky fixture for South Africa historically.
That context is really important. It's not just a weird statistic. There are reasons behind that pattern.
Okay.
And the most recent game, that was 9 years ago, the sources.
Yeah, spot on. November 2016. Wembley Stadium in London.
And the result?
That one ended all square, 31-31.
a high-scoring draw. So even the last time they met, it was incredibly close, very competitive, despite the different ways the teams are put together.
Which really ramps up the significance of this upcoming one on June 28th, doesn't it?
Absolutely. For the Springboks, the source mentions this is seen as pretty crucial, right? Getting the 2025 season started well.
Yeah, hugely important. They've got a massive international calendar ahead. A win here against this unique opposition would be the perfect start, setting the tone.
Setting the tone is vital, especially after the World Cup success, starting a new cycle, and we have to keep coming back to it, that historic angle. First time ever for this kind of match, billed as a test in South Africa, in Cape Town. That adds a whole other layer for the fans, for the players. It's a big deal.
Huge deal. And if we look at the bigger picture the source gives us, this Barbarians game isn't just a one-off showpiece. It's actually the starting gun for a really, really busy 2025 home season for the Boks.
Ah, yes, it kicks off a whole series of home games. What else is on the cards after June 28th, according to the source?
Well, straight after the Baas in Cape Town, they roll into their incoming series in July.
Okay.
That's 2 tests against Italy. First one's at Loftus in Pretoria. The second down in Rebreha at Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium.
Italy twice. Tough opposition.
Then, still in July, they face Georgia. That one's at Mbambala Stadium in Nelspruit.
Right, Georgia. So 3 tests in July right after the Barbarians.
Pretty full-on start to the international season. And then later in the year, the home leg of the Rugby Championship.
The big one.
Yep. The sources list 2 clashes against the Wallabies. First one's at Ellis Park in Joburg.
Always special, Ellis Park.
And the second Australia game is back in Cape Town at Cape Town Stadium again in August.
Okay, 2 against the Aussies.
And then they round out their home Rugby Championship schedule against Argentina. That's at Kings Park in Durban in September.
Wow. Okay, so Barbarians, Italy twice, Georgia, Australia twice, Argentina. That is a seriously stacked home calendar for 2025. What a treat for the fans.
It really is. And it just highlights again why that June 28th game matters so much. It's historic, yes, but it's also the launchpad for this massive year of home tests. Their first chance to lay down a marker against quality, albeit unique, opposition.
So we've kind of dug into the history, the unique nature of the Baas, the context. Now, this is where we turn it over to you listening. The source itself asks the question very directly. Who do you think will win the historic match?
Yeah, this is the big one for you to chew on. Will it be the Springboks? You know, home advantage, World Cup winners, that structured power game. Will that be too much?
Or could the Barbarians pull off something special? Use that flair, that mix of international stars, maybe channel some of that surprising historical success they've had against the Baas.
We really want to hear what you think. Consider everything that the Baas winning record historically, the fact it's the first time here in SA, the clash of styles. What does your gut, your rugby brain tell you is going to happen on June 28th?
Let us know your predictions, your thoughts on the game, maybe even memories of those past matches we mentioned. Get involved in the conversation. And just a reminder to make sure you don't miss any of these chats.
Definitely subscribe to Rugby Obsession. Your input is really valuable for these deep dives.
Absolutely. Okay, before we wrap up, let's just leave you with one final thought kind of building on all this. We've talked a lot about that surprising history of the Barbarians actually having won more games, 4, than the Springboks, 3, in their previous 8 meetings.
Right, and those Baas wins often came outside South Africa, in places like the UK.
Exactly. Now, for the very first time, this fixture, this test, is happening in South Africa, in Cape Town.
So the question to ponder is this. You've got the Barbarians' historical knack for upsetting the Boks, often away from SA. But then you've got the massive factor of Springbok home advantage, playing this historic match on their own turf.
Which force wins out? Does history repeat itself in a strange way, with the Baas finding a way even in Cape Town? Or does playing this first ever home test against them finally give the Springboks the decisive edge that maybe they lacked in some of those previous encounters overseas?
It's a fascinating dilemma history throws up, isn't it? It really adds spice to the build-up.
It certainly does. What a match to look forward to.
Couldn't agree more.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this Rugby Obsession deep dive. We hope unpacking the Springboks versus Barbarians clash has been interesting and got you thinking ahead to June 28th.
Always good to get stuck into the details and look forward to some great rugby.
And please remember to subscribe to Rugby Obsession so you catch all our future deep dives. We look forward to having you listen to our next episode of the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive.